It was one of the most horrifying cases to ever shake the American prison system. A young death row inmate, just weeks from her scheduled execution, was found dead inside her locked cell. Her name was Alyssa Grant, convicted of first-degree murder in 2019, sentenced to die by lethal injection. Alyssa had spent 3 silent years inside Marston Correctional Facility. No appeals left, no visitors, no hope. Alyssa was unlike the others. While death row was filled with screaming, rage, and broken spirits, she was a ghost. Quiet, motionless. She followed routine without protest. Answer, roll call, eat her food, return to silence. She never begged for appeals, never argued with guards. She just sat, staring at the wall, as if it held answers no one else could see. She had been convicted for supplying the drugs that killed a teenage girl in Knoxville. Prosecutors painted her as cold, unremorseful. The jury took less than 3 hours to sentence her to death. But on a cold Monday morning at 6:03 a.m., Officer Daryl Hunt knocked on cell 09. Grant, morning count. Silence. He knocked again, louder, still nothing. When he leaned in through the reinforced glass, his stomach dropped. Alyssa lay curled on the floor, stiff, pale, her eyes wide open, lifeless. Within minutes, the cell filled with boots and urgency. Nurse Paula Winters attempted CPR. Officer Caldwell checked vitals, but it was useless. At 6:22 a.m., time of death was called. There were no visible injuries, no strangulation marks, no blood pools. Only one small, strange detail. Faint dried blood under her fingernails. Something wasn't right. Warden Simmons, 5 years running Marston, had never faced an unexplained death on death row. Executions, yes, illness once, but this, a mystery. The cell was sealed, photographs taken, incident report filed. Routine, but nothing about it was routine. By noon, medical examiner Dr. Eliza Monroe began Alyssa's autopsy. At first, nothing unusual, until she reached the abdominal region. Something was off. She ordered a rapid test. 10 minutes later, results stunned the room. Alyssa Grant was pregnant, 9 weeks. Silence fell, because under state and federal law, executing a pregnant woman is illegal. Had Alyssa revealed her condition, her death warrant would have been suspended. She might have lived at least until after childbirth. But now she was dead, and the question burned through every hallway of Marston. By evening, the Department of Corrections launched a full investigation. Camera feeds were checked, logs reviewed. That's when a junior systems technician, Kevin Lott, noticed something chilling. A gap. On the night Alyssa died, hallway cameras outside cell 09 went dark. Not for hours, not by accident, but for exactly 9 minutes. The system recorded a manual override, a deliberate shutdown. Kevin checked deeper. The same outage had happened before. Same hallway, same length. Always between 2:30 and 3 a.m. every month. The pattern was too precise to be coincidence. Each time one officer was on duty, Michael Haynes, a 17-year veteran, former military, disciplined, quiet, recently transferred to death row rotation. Warden Simmons summoned Haynes, calmly asked why the cameras failed on his shift. System glitch, sir. I logged it. Maintenance was supposed to check, but there was no maintenance request. No IT confirmation. Haynes denied remembering. Neutral flat, they let him leave. But behind the scenes, internal affairs launched a sweep. The real breakthrough came from Alyssa herself. Under her fingernails, forensic teams found epithelial skin cells enough for DNA. The match, Michael Haynes. Thursday morning, he was escorted from his post in handcuffs. The news exploded. Pregnant death row inmate dies mysteriously. Guard under investigation. Marston Correctional was no longer a prison, it was a crime scene. By Saturday, the FBI had taken over internal data, override logs, surveillance backups. Everything was seized. Kevin Lott, the young technician, worked with agents to recover corrupted video. One file survived. The footage showed a man in uniform walking to Alyssa's cell. He unlocked the door, a door requiring 2-man authentication, and slipped inside. 7 minutes later, he emerged, his shirt collar loose, hair disheveled, a faint smear of red on his hand. It was Michael Haynes. The evidence was undeniable. In questioning, Haynes was cold. Mechanical asked why he entered the cell. He claimed rounds, but rounds don't require opening locked doors. Confronted with footage, he muttered, could be altered. Presented with DNA under Alyssa's nails, he whispered, no comment. When told she was pregnant, he froze. Finally, he muttered, she said she would burn it all down. She said I'd never walk away clean. He admitted to visits, claimed she needed someone, but investigators saw the truth. Assault, abuse of authority, homicide. Haynes was charged. The deeper forensic sweep revealed more. Bruises on her wrists, restraint marks, invisible to the naked eye, sedatives in her blood. Not enough to kill, just enough to keep her weak, and hidden beneath her mattress. A letter. I don't know how many nights I can keep doing this. He comes when the lights go out. I pretend to sleep, but I'm awake for every second. He whispers things I don't want to hear. He thinks I won't tell. He's wrong. I won't die without someone knowing the truth. She didn't name him. She didn't have to. The state appointed Rebecca Lang, a seasoned investigator. to lead oversight. She'd seen predators like Haynes before, but something about Alyssa's words haunted her. And then another discovery. Scratched into steel beneath Alyssa's bed, faint letters spelled, "He's not the only one." The horror deepened. Rebecca traced system overrides. 14 times, Alyssa's cell had been opened illegally. Only 5 matched Haynes's shifts. The rest, different guards, different supervisors, different nights. This wasn't one man sneaking through cracks. This was a system of cracks. Inside, she found confidential override logs and infirmary access records. One badge belonged to Captain Dean Morrill, former head of security. He'd resigned quietly 3 months earlier. His file revealed prior misconduct at another prison. Another belonged to Nurse Terry Lopez, who had withdrawn sedatives from storage. Supposedly at Morrill's verbal request, other guards tied to overrides had resigned, vanished, or fled overseas. This was bigger than Haynes. Rebecca's investigation led to one more name. Gwen Ryder, a former neighbor of Alyssa's cell, deemed unstable. Ryder had been sedated daily for weeks. The order, signed by Owl, but before sedation, she'd written a secret letter, hidden in Alyssa's drain. He visits her at night. She said no one to report to. They're all in on it. They call it suicide, but it's not. They make it look like suicide. Gwen's testimony, once dismissed as delusion, now confirmed Alyssa's fears when the truth began leaking. Letters, footage, logs, the internet erupted. Alyssa's silent story became impossible to bury. Civil rights groups demanded justice. Protesters held her name on signs. Murals painted her face across city walls. She was real. The governor ordered an emergency review. Executions of female inmates were frozen nationwide. For the first time, Marston Correctional's death row was shut down. 1 year later, Congress held hearings titled Voices from the Inside. What Alyssa Grant exposed, they read her letters aloud, played the grainy footage, recounted Gwen Ryder's words, and they wept. Michael Haynes was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Captain Morrill disappeared, rumored abroad. Others implicated resigned in disgrace. But the biggest change, the system itself. New laws banned camera shutdown overrides. Death row facilities faced federal review. Inmate abuse complaints required third-party investigation. Because Alyssa's case proved what many had feared, the walls of solitary confinement could hide more than silence. I wasn't supposed to care. She was just another name on a schedule. But she left us clues. She wanted someone to see her, and she was real.